I can't travel away from Uric 5. Oh boy. Yeah, getting a pretty light show would also encourage some flirting from me. Lord Captain, sorry to disturb you. She just pauses as if listening to something. It's pandemonium outside the bridge gate. One of the officers seems to be demanding an audience with you in person. I think I hear Master Wassarian's voice. In any case, I wanted to warn you in advance. What does Abelard want from us? Yeah, divorcing Tyrant is horrid, but speaking of, my grand biomasses are visiting this weekend for Christmas. Oh gosh, I'm dying. Aren't we all just biomasses in different shapes? The everyday sounds of the bridge are disrupted by voices raised in anger. Blood's voice is the loudest of all. This is not the conduct of an officer. These are the antics of a highborn bred out on a lark. Explain yourself, Lieutenant. The young woman standing before Abelard strives with all her might not to quail under the onslaught of his superior's anger. She falters, but then manages to look him in the eye and say, I apologize, sir, but I must speak to the Lord Captain. Very well, Lieutenant. You may address the Lord Captain, not least because I see you have already seen fit to disturb him. Your unauthorized appearance on the bridge and display of belligerence toward a higher-ranking officer will be logged on your personal file without delay. Lord Captain, Lieutenant Avril Vent, requesting permission to speak. Then falls silent, and then as rashly, on a matter of extreme importance and urgency. Already spoke. You know, you may speak. I want to hear a report. The shouting match having two officers bickering in full view of the bridge is unacceptable. I'm sorry, Lord Captain. I thought that drastic times called for drastic measures. And exclaims hotly. Yeah, I think my voicing is a little bit more unsure than hot. This matter cannot wait. Any minute now, an assault unit will be dispatched on the lower decks on orders to crush the workers' strike by any means necessary. But I am convinced that this step is unwarranted, and that the crisis itself was provoked by the actions of one of the senior officers. Vent is almost trembling with tension as she delivers her speech, her face extremely pale. Abelard, in no hurry to intervene, lets out a skeptical huff. Lord Captain, I urge you to investigate the actions of the Seneschal Wassarian, and to intervene in what's happening on the lower decks, because very soon we will have a mutiny or massacre on our hands. She reads off the last words, though she knows them by heart. She's clearly been preparing to say them for some time. When she's finished, she casts an anxious glance at Abelard, then at you. I mean, gotta have quite the guts to go with that to the Lord Captain, doesn't she? So, how did this all start? The situation could boil over any minute, so I'll give you the condensed version. It all began when the enforcers found a cultist amulet on the body of someone who'd been killed in a drunken brawl. We reported it up to the chain immediately, arranged for a cleansing rite to be performed, and opened an investigation. No heretics have been found alive, but the search has brought tensions between enforcers and workers to a head. So, where does Seneschal Wassarian come into all of this? I shall explain. Abelard intones grimly. I beg you to hurry. Time is running out. I will not hurry. As my competence is under scrutiny, I shall speak for as long as I see fit. There's an established order to the way things are done on this ship, and one of the pillars of that system is that the rogue trader's attention is not distracted by trivial matters. It is the Seneschal's role to ensure that. I've always handled internal problems myself, so, of course, when I received information about cultists hiding on the lower decks, I took the matter in hands. So long as I live, and one of the vermin who murdered Theodora von Valancius will find refuge on her ship. Especially that text reminds me a little bit of, wow, now I forgot the name. The Hell Knight in Wrath of the Righteous. Rachel. You are far too heavy-handed, Seneschal Versarian. Arrests, interrogations, mass punishments for entire sectors. It has driven the people to a brink. Ben says bitterly. Now there's a strike on the lower decks, in Depot 4 to be precise. 3 worker clans are involved, but many more are passively supporting them. The situation could degenerate into an all-out insurrection. When I reported my concerns, the only response I received was an order to dispatch an assault unit and crush the strike with maximum force. And I mean, the interesting thing is, Abelard is iconoclast in this game, so still the most compassionate of the branches. So, there's an insurrection in the making aboard my ship, and no one has informed me. I do not deem it a problem worthy of the rogue trader's attention. The lower decks, as it so happens, are in revolt. 30-some years ago, we met a revolutionary leader rise up, who dared to establish workers' rule across the entire ship. It took a month to restore order, but even 8 years later, we were still battling rumors that the hero had survived his execution and was on the verge of gathering people to fight against tyranny once more. Abelard scoffs. Needless to say, the rumors were baseless. For the current situation, we have sufficient enforcers to deal with. But on this ship, the word of the Lord Captain carries more weight than a salvo from 100 bolters. I'm sure that if the rogue trader addresses the malcontents directly, he will quell the unrest. I dread to think what problem you will disturb the rogue trader with next. Perhaps you will ask the Lord Captain to break up brawls in the mess room. Huh. I've already given you the means to resolve this problem. You simply need to use them. What? Kill the poor people? If I may, your lordship, sending a hit squad to crush the rebellion is a means of ignoring the problem, not solving it. So, what is Depot 4? 4 is one of the poorest sectors on the lower decks. It is home to clans of general labours. They are not as valuable to the ship as the families who have served its specialized system for generations. They are an easily replaceable resource, and one which is now more besides giving succor to cultists and minions of the arch enemy. Oh boy. Oh boy. People as resource. Ah, servitors. I'm just kidding, obviously. Okay. Though I do wonder sometimes, like, for how many people in the Warhammer universe is death like a blessing? People force poor and troubles, but at worst that means drunken fights and illegal rotguts brewing. We have handled the workers of Depot 4 in the past. Would have done so again if the crackdown on Depot 4 hadn't been so harsh. And another important point to bear in mind, the problem is not limited to the sector. It is located on one of the most populated lower decks, and everything that happens there has a knock-on effect on all the neighboring sectors. I can tell you, Swarm, that I'm going to play pretty iconoclast. You're not wrong, Imperial taxes are usually measured in people for the war effort. Oh boy. Oh boy. Abelard, what do you have to say to all of this? I see no need to add anything. I acted within the remit of my authority, guided exclusively by the best interests of your protectorate and your personal safety. If you wish to confirm the rectitude of my actions before yourself, I have no objections. For my part, I urge the Lord Captain to go down the lower decks, stop assault unit, and speak directly to the people. You will see that they are not lying or harboring heretics. That way, you will stop the uprising before it begins. And of course we're going to go there and have a look around. I've heard enough. I'll go down to the lower decks and deal with the problem personally. Praise the Emperor! And cannot contain a relief. Thank you, Lord Captain. Abelard grits his teeth slightly. An enterprise bordering on the sophomoric. Please yourself, Lord Captain. However, I categorically insist that I escort you. Alright. Not as if we had like already 6 people or more. Yeah, I guess the lifetime of most of the life expectancy of most of the people is rather short. To the side of the conflict with the Seneschal.
Is there money to be made?
Greetings, your graces. Wonder how long it is since a Lord Captain or Lady Captain made it here. Hey, it's Wasarian. Take that scum. Yeah. Oh, Abelard. Abelard reflexively wiped the sweat from his brow in a startlingly human gesture, and a telling one. A rare moment when he allows his age and wariness to show through his armor-like veneer of self-assurance. The lower decks are a source of endless problems. Sometimes, I dearly regret that we cannot replace all the locals with servitors. Did you hear? They were shouting your name. Of course they were. The organization of the daily routine life of the ship rests upon my shoulders. The mountain of challenges and problems from which I endeavor to insulate you, Lord Captain. The situation on the lower decks has been a cause for concern, and I've intervened personally on more than one occasion. That must be why they remember me. They do not know your face. To them, you are akin to a creature of legend, one who has stood up on the steps of the Golden Throne, no less. Whereas I am the man whose name is attached to every order docking rations and lowering a base heating. I mean, throwing acid seems more like disrespecting. The people dare to disrespect a senior officer. They would not have the chance to express such disrespect if we were not here, and if the situation had been dealt with by the relevant officers. Abelard grimaces. It is a junior officer's worst failing, to pass problems up the chain of command. I've never been able to abide it. I shall say it again. It was a mistake to come here on Lieutenant Van's whim, Lord Captain. I must admit that the lieutenant is by no means the worst material for an officer, Abelard adds peevishly. But in the name of terror, the girl is the same age as my eldest great-granddaughter. She has the gall to tell me how to manage the lower decks and hunt down cultists. It will be another 20 years at least before she can be trusted to act without oversight. You know, let's keep moving. We need to get to the bottom of this. Let's see how many more acid attacks there are waiting for us. Something resembling a nest made out of thermal insulation material. This must be where the workers sleep between shifts. I mean, what a life down here.
Keep your wits
And
about
then
you.
a high officer visits and is like, why can't we replace them by servitors? Huge pipes, the arteries of the ship, went through many bays, delivering air, water, heat, and the propulsive force of steam. It's just insane how huge those void ships are. Throwing acids at people is not nice. Not quite. Sounds of heated discussion reverberate through the ship's base. Lieutenant Yrliet of the ship's enforcers is bearing the path of a heavily built assault unit officer, and judging by the expression and tone, The standoff has dragged on for some time already, and has now reached a boiling point. I have my orders to put an end to the unrest and purge the sector. You can take your orders and shove them. This is my deck and my sector. There are only 3 people who can waltz in here without my express permission. The first officer, the rogue trader, and the Emperor himself. She's really fighting for her cause. I like that. But I guess it would be horrible in a chain of commands. Oh gosh. Phalanx is Gargantuan, the largest starship known to have been constructed by human hands, and something of its magnitude has not been since the dark age of technology. The size of a small moon or larger asteroid, its foredeck alone can dock a dozen Imperial Navy cruisers around its circumference. It sounds really, really huge. Cool. And I mean, so easy to lose control and function just by revolting or chaos or whatever. So not all of my lessons fall on deaf ears. Abelard mutters incredible approval. He does not clarify whether he means Lieutenant Vent, the officer looming over her, or both. Your Lordship! Noticing you, the 2 junior officers snap to attention and salute, their subordinates following suit a moment later. We've encountered some locals on our way here. Their conduct was outrageous. They even tried to throw things at us. And pales slightly. The people are getting desperate, clearly. They saw the assault unit and they decided that they had nothing left to lose. I mean, I apologize, Lord Captain. It is outrageous. I'm sure the people simply didn't recognize you. It wouldn't have occurred otherwise. We will deal with them, once the current situation is resolved. What to do? So, what's the situation? Your Lordship, my people have locked down the bay where the strikers are, including their leaders. We have the situation under control, as far as resources allow. I want to speak to the strikers. Abelard's mouth twists, but he restrains himself and says nothing. Don't argue with the Lord Captain. Right you are, Lord Captain. Allow me to wish you good luck. Hope gleams in Lieutenant Vent's eyes. I mean, I think we should at least definitely talk to everyone before deciding what to do. The enforcers have tormented us enough.
Always keep your eye on the prize.
See if we can even resolve it peacefully. A dozen pairs of eyes stare apprehensively at you. People before you are typical inhabitants of the lower decks. Take in their simple clothing, crude weapons, and faces that display varying level of mutation, from the barely discernible to the strange to the outright grotesque. Alright, I hope reloading and refreshing helps to get back in sync. I hope that's the problem just for you, and not that in general it seems to sync me talking and the voice, sound. If it is, please tell me and I will think about how to fix it. Well. Whisper passes through the crowd, and you detect a mixture of fear, astonishment, and joy in their reactions. Finally, 3 people break away from the crowd. An elderly woman and 2 men. These must be the leaders. They bow clumsily before you. Yeah, is Rivet now a woman or not? Okay, nice to hear that it seems to be in sync. Lord Captain, you have come down to us. Yeah, so, tell me what is troubling you. Why are you striking? Striking? That's news to us, your lordship, says a tall, thin man in worker's garb. All we're doing is asking questions, saying what we think. Shut up, Rivet, said the old woman, who turns her hostile dark eyes on you. Here's the deal, your lordship. Your damned enforcers are all over us down here. They say they're looking for cultists. One wrong word, and they're reaching for the batons. If they want to punish someone, they turn off the heating to the whole base for a week at a time, so we get sick and freeze. In my clan, 2 little ones died from inflammation in their lungs, all because of those enforcers. The old woman spits on the floor and rubs at the spittle with the toe of a worn-out shoe. Yay, right? That really doesn't sound nice. Argenta does not interrupt the workers, but you see the sadness well in her eyes when the children's deaths are mentioned. She quietly whispers a requiem prayer and makes a sign over herself. It is all true. Venge is the only enforcer officer who stood up for us. It's clear as day who had a mother from the lower decks and who grew up in adminships and has no fellow feeling towards us. The grim man, with a scarred face, throws up his arms. Your lordships, we are no villains here. We are honest workers, your servants. We've plotted no disorder. We don't strike openly, and now we've got guns pointed at us. All we're doing is asking to be allowed to work in peace, without being harassed. Innocence proves nothing? Interesting mindset. The persecution started a process of nothing, you say? I was told that one of you was found in possession of a cultist amulet, and that there are heretics hiding here. A cultist amulet? What's that? The gewgaws they found on the dead drunkard? It was something evil or forbidden we shouldn't know. The enforcers just said they were looking for heretics among us, and anyone obstructing their investigation would be punished. But how could there be heretics here? We know our own people. There have been no new faces here. Definitely not. And if there were, we'd be the first to report them. As for this amulet or whatever it is, they took it off a dead body. There are no cultists still breathing in our sector, that's for sure. But when that fight brought out, some enterprising folks looted the bodies. The boots they came back with, nobody's ever tread these decks and boots so fine, I can tell you that. Seems to me these cultists have better commanders than us. You know, old woman, you sound the most heretical of all of these people. Oh yeah, these boots were really fine, and there was no harm in taking them, right? As for the amulet, I must have pocketed it by someone who didn't know any better. We don't need any amulets around here. We all worship the Emperor, and when we're working we bow down before the machine spirits of the large and small transformers in the servo motor. The same way my grandfather was taught 100 years ago by tech priests who came calling. Believe us, your lordship. We are people of faith. Naive children, weren't you taught from an early age about the dangers of the arch-enemy's creations? Weren't you warned that any unfamiliar object could be one of them? Mistrust everything. We were told, Holy Sister, but it was long ago. The last time we saw a confessor in our sector was just after I had my 3rd little one. Yeah, they really seem to be not really connected to anything down here. That is regrettable, but you cannot lay the burden of leading a righteous life on the shoulders of the Holy Fathers. Who will you blame when beasts crawl out of these amulets you stole from the heretics? The Holy Father who was not here, or the scavenger who brought evil down on himself and his neighbors? I mean, that's kinda right. You know, we were attacked on the way here. How do you explain that? Here's an explanation for you. That was way the wrong voice. Here's an explanation for you. The people have been pushed to their limit, and now they're letting out. As if we don't know why these top-deck units are being sent down here, like that one there. The lieutenant won't let past. Our clans are all inside the bay that's been sealed off, but the lower decks are big. I'm sure there are some people who have had just enough about. We're getting it from all sides. The soldiers have encircled the ones who've risen up. A death squad has just arrived. It's no wonder folks are lashing out. Fair? The words seem sincere to you. The body language and the glances traded between them reveal that the news of the attack has shocked them. This is reassuring. Who said that quote, "Insolence proves nothing"? So, alright. What changes do you want? Would you look at this? The exalted Lord Captain himself is asking us giant rats that what we want. Well, here's what. We want you to rein in your definite forces, do a turning off the heat, and to stop battering everything that moves. No, that's not it. We want the enforcers gone from here, and we want to be armed. Give us arms, and we'll govern ourselves. We'll defend ourselves, and the cultists do show their faces. I've been leader of my clan for 20 years now. Getting rid of these club-wielding thugs can only improve things around here. That's a little bit much you're asking, my dear. You want to be armed and completely govern yourself? Uh-huh. You've gone too far, old man. They never let the Magos on the lower decks live without the enforcer breathing down their necks. They probably even insist on enforcers on the upper decks too. As for weapons, what do we need them for? Before the first day's out, we'll have someone shooting the neighbor out of stupidity or drunkenness. We don't need that. If the enforcers stop hassling us, that'll be enough. In return, we fund the scavengers who robbed the cultist bodies, and we'll talk to them, one lower decker to another. If there are any more of these damn amulets about, we hand them over to the enforcers ourselves. That sounds way more reasonable and also way more manageable. Ah, it's an Inquisition saying. Yeah, I read that a few times before, but I was like, where does it come from? You speak for yourself and your clan, and I speak for me and mine. I don't want any empty gestures, I want real change. They promise us the world now, but as soon as the Anointed One turns his back, these brutes will be on us even harder than before. All because we dare to speak up. Boy. Okay. But I think at least finding middle ground sounds reasonable, and maybe not turning off the heating and let people die by inflammation. Sounds like something we could do. The tall walker's eyes dart between the two arguing leaders. Every few seconds, he opens his mouth as if planning to agree, but each time he falls silent, simply making a few vague noises of approval. So it's the classic, we have two opposing fronts and we have to choose one and hope that the middle one is going to go along with it? We can just say no, which I think would lead to an all-out attack. We can go like all the way, we can take the middle ground. I would say let's go for the middle ground. You know, spreading anarchy on the ships, the first step toward embracing chaos. Putting weapons into untrained hands would be even worse. What's more, the enforcers are needed to maintain oversight and order. Withdraw those demands, and we will consider the rest. Yay! We succeeded! Okay, we had a 120% chance to win. Innocence proves nothing explains the best on how the Inquisition works, because it does not matter what is the truth, but rather what needs to be done. Ah, that sounds so just. Nice. The tall worker they call Rivet shrugs and casts a sidelong look at the old woman. Old Nan, listen. The Lord Captain himself has come down to us and is offering concessions. And I don't know a single person in the whole Depot 4 who's ever stood next to the rogue trader, let alone talk to them. Back down. Now's not the time for you to be a stubborn old crone. Nice. Listen to us, old man. The three clans of Depot 4 ought to act as one. We've made our minds up. It's your turn to decide. Don't ask them to disband the enforcers or give us weapons. We don't need any of that. The old woman hisses in dissatisfaction. You two are ganging up on me, is that it? You're so brave against an old woman. But I'll shut up. I will indeed. I won't go against two clan leaders on my own. If you want to make peace with the enforcers, make your peace. Kinda sounds like that's not the last we're hearing from her, is it? That is great, just fantastic. Lord Captain, we are agreed. And it's decided. The persecution will stop, and I will expect you to assist in locating any remaining amulets or weapons left by the cultists. Your Lordship, thank you. You have not abandoned us lower deckers. You came yourself and settled everything. I tell my grandchildren about this. You're welcome. Of course, Your Lordship. We root out any nasty business faster than the enforcers. We leave no stone unturned. Nice. I think that was a good way to resolve it. Just curious if we'll ever see the old woman again. Well, well, well. Stopping unexpectedly, Abelard imperiously dismisses the unit to stand at a distance and addresses your other companions, saying, "An urgent matter to discuss with the Lord Captain. Please, give us a moment." Just us two, and down here. Well, thanks again, Swamp. But there are probably others who didn't do that so far, so yeah. The bot is reminding them. If you're not a heretic, follow, like, and subscribe. Checkmate. Abelard looks at you. His last vestige of restraint vanished. Well, are you pleased with your investigation, Lord Captain? You kowtowed the disloyal rebel. You believed their lies and showed them leniency. Next time the ship is attacked by cultists, that rebel will welcome them in with open arms and allow them to wreak havoc, whatever havoc they like, because they see you as a weak leader. Oh boy. Is that how you see your future at the helm of the Von Valencia Protectorate? I gotta say, I am surprised that Abelard is so openly disapproving of the Lord Captain. You know, why are you so angry? I solved the problem. But why did you have to be the one to do it? And did you consider what it might cost you? I would have ended the situation myself, had you not decided to intervene. That says irascibly. That's a new word for me. Remember Lord Captain Theodora? Do you think she ever set one slipped foot onto the lower decks? No, she did not. Such matters were left to myself and the junior officers, where she dedicated herself to her grand designs for the perfect protectorate, as any true strategist and rogue trader ought. I mean, Edward is definitely unconventional, but I mean, could like improve morale and stuff, and in the at least hoping that in the long run there will be fewer uprisings and everything. Which will get you to discover the most unique people. One day, I was very surprised to find a voice actor from the game in a random stream. Oh, that's nice. And yeah, Twitch is really nice for that. I mean, I don't think we would usually all meet somewhere and talk about Warhammer, would we? You know, maybe if Theodora had spent more time on trifling matters, she wouldn't have wound up dead. There's a new Lord Captain aboard this ship now, and I will not repeat her mistake. It might be a little bit harsh, but I think Edward likes to sometimes be very harsh. Abelard looks at you, stunned. Nick exhales loudly, then he nods curtly. I commend your decisiveness, but I'm uncomfortable with introducing new protocols in the midst of a crisis. And Abelard stands straight at attention. I lost my temper, Lord Captain, and I believe I ought to explain myself. Abelard speaks slowly, the words not coming easily to him. I'm very curious what he's going to say, cause it really didn't seem like him. Prosperity of the Von Valencia's Protectorate is not just an empty phrase to me. I left the Imperial Navy for the chance to see it flourish. It was the most momentous decision of my life. I did it because I saw in Lord Captain Theodora's deeds the sign of true greatness. Rogue traders do not simply forge new routes and capture worlds. They create order of anarchy. The creative impulse was entirely lacking during my time in the military. Well, I wouldn't say that military is known for creativity. So I left behind everything I'd known, everything my family had known. I come from a long line of officers, and I embarked upon this incredibly reckless venture. Lord Captain Theodora entrusted me with all the concerns she had no time for. She would go off on a flagship for long periods, to distant frontiers, to scouting voyages, and the advancement of the entire Protectorate rested on my shoulders. And then, suddenly, everything that had been built over years and years began to quake, rattling like a flimsy hanger on a seismically active world. I wonder what changed to get it all so unstable. One of the senior officers betrayed us all, the rogue trader was killed, and who knows what is happening on the planets. I tell you this honestly, without fear of appearing weak. All this has come as a grievous blow to me. I'm not panicking over grieving, because I cannot allow myself to panic or grieve. I'm duty bound to aid the new rogue trader, to aid you, to find your footing as quickly as possible. And to do that, I must insulate you from problems that in the past have been dealt with by tried and tested procedures set out in the ship's regulations. Procedures that were established long ago and have functioned smoothly for decades cannot suddenly be deemed access to requirements. Abelard, you sound very conservative. Let's change things and be chaotic. I can say once again, like, yeah, Theodora trusted them and died. I mean, in the end, it's my authority to change things. We won't change. I understand, but you need to learn how to respect me as your Lord Captain Rogue Trader. Accept it and start living in the new world. A world which Theodora is gone, and where you and I have new decisions to make. Abelard solemnly inclines his head. Yes, Lord Captain. After a moment's silence, he adds, looking at you with interest. Your resolve is admirable and demonstrates strong leadership. I shall remember this moment, should my old habits ever begin to creep back in. And now, please, let us leave the lower decks. The Rogue Trader desires to stretch his legs. There are far more suitable places. You wanted to talk down here? Yeah, let's see if now we can travel to the next planet, or if there are more events hindering us from advancing.